The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 95.
So just to set the stage for you, we are following three traveling martial artists, Yang Ming, Lei Ming, and Chen Ling.
And they operate under the distant and, honestly, often cryptic guidance of the legendary monk Jigong.
Yeah, they're out on the open road, basically acting as couriers, and the environment they're walking into is about to test literally every single survival skill they possess.
It really is.
So let's unpack this opening scene because it throws us into the deep end without a life vest.
Oh, totally. No warning at all.
Our heroes, specifically Lei Ming and Chen Ling, are resting at a place called the Jin family village.
Right.
They're inside a room, and the text notes that they suddenly detect what it translates as a stranger smell.
Which is such an interesting phrase.
It is, because my initial thought reading that wasn't, that someone literally forgot to wear deodorant.
Right, it's not a literal body odor thing.
No, it feels to me like a description of a highly cultivated sixth sense. Like when a veteran soldier walks into a room and instantly knows something is fundamentally wrong.
Just by the atmospheric pressure.
Exactly. The micro shifts in the environment.
That instinct is spot on, honestly. And it taps directly into the concept of Naijia, or internal martial arts.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, in this literary tradition, high-level martial artists don't just train their muscles. They actively cultivate their internal energy.
Right.
And this heightens their sensory perception to an almost superhuman degree. They aren't relying on sight or sound alone.
So they can feel it.
Yeah, they can literally sense a disruption in the energetic field of their environment. So that stranger smell is a localized anomaly.
Like a glitch in the matrix.
Pretty much. Someone or something that absolutely does not belong in the Jin family village has just breached their perimeter.
And Lei Ming's reaction to this anomaly is terrifyingly fast. I mean, there is no who goes there.
No hesitation whatsoever.
Right. A woman attempts to enter the room through the curtain, and Lei Ming just draws his knife and slashes her instantly.
It is a purely violent, preemptive strike.
Based entirely on that shifted environmental energy.
Which really tells us a great deal about the baseline trauma and paranoia required to just survive in the Jianghu, right?
Martial underworld.
Yeah, the Jianghu.
Yeah.
Lei Ming's default setting is just lethal force. He assumes any unannounced presence is a direct threat to his life.
But his lethal force doesn't yield a normal result. This is where that baseball bat analogy from the intro comes in.
Ah, yes. The flames.
He slashes this woman, and there is a sudden blinding flash of fire, and the intruder just vanishes.
Oof. Gone.
When the smoke clears, Lei Ming and Chen Liang find blood on the floor, proving the blade actually connected. But they also find a clump of yellow hair.
And the text specifically notes that the heroes are standing there debating whether it's wolf hair or fox hair.
Right. They are completely baffled by what just happened.
What's really fascinating here is how the narrator utilizes dramatic irony to immediately elevate the stakes for the reader.
Leaving the characters completely in the dark.
Exactly. The narrator steps in and explicitly reveals the intruder's true identity to us.
And it wasn't a woman.
No, it wasn't a common wolf or fox either. It is a yellow weasel spirit that possesses 1,200 years of spiritual cultivation.
1,200 years. I mean, in Western fantasy, maybe a vampire gets slightly stronger after a few centuries.
Sure, maybe he learns a new trick.
But in Chinese folklore, the mathematical compounding of animal cultivation is just a whole different beast.
Oh, absolutely.
An animal surviving that long isn't just old, right? It's basically a localized god.
It is. The mechanics of animal cultivation in Taoist folklore are incredibly rigorous. An animal doesn't just passively age into power.
Right, they have to work for it.
Yeah, it actively absorbs the essence of the sun and the moon, gathering yin and yang energy over centuries to slowly unlock sentience.
And human speech.
And eventually, the ability to physically shapeshift. But the universe actively pushes back against this.
The universe doesn't like it.
Not at all. Every 500 years, a cultivating spirit faces a heavenly tribulation.
Which sounds intense.
It usually comes in the form of targeted lightning strikes meant to destroy it for defying the natural order.
Okay, so this yellow weasel hasn't just been meditating in a cave. It has survived at least 2 apocalyptic lightning strikes sent by heaven itself just to wipe it out.
Exactly.
And Lei Ming just casually stabbed it with a mundane hunting knife.
The power disparity is comical, really, but it's deeply alarming. Lei Ming wounded a being of immense ancient power.
And the text immediately provides a backstory that makes this encounter infinitely worse, doesn't it?
Oh, it gets so much worse. We find out this specific weasel spirit has a profound history with the hero's master Jigong.
Right, the Mad Monk.
Yeah, we learn that Jigong has previously cornered and captured this yellow weasel girl 9 separate times.
9 times.
And 9 separate times, exercising Buddhist mercy, he let her go.
See, that stretches the limits of pacifism for me.
That's a lot of mercy.
My theory reading that was that Jigong, being this highly enlightened figure, was playing a very long game.
Hoping for a breakthrough.
Yeah, hoping that repetitive grace would eventually spark genuine repentance in the demon, like some kind of cosmic rehabilitation program.
You would hope so. Except the text explicitly subverts that Buddhist ideal of inevitable redemption.
It totally shuts it down.
The narrator tells us she remains completely unrepentant. In fact, after surviving Lai Ming's knife wound, she is fleeing to Laikong Mountain.
To study under a dark figure named Monk Laikong, right?
Right. And furthermore, the narrator flashes forward to tell us she will eventually join a massive demonic coalition.
The Five Clouds Array.
Yes, the Five Clouds Array, to seek total revenge against Jigong and his disciples.
It fundamentally breaks that Disney Nafeel idea that showing mercy to a villain turns them into an ally.
It really does. Here, past mercies are just compounding debts that the villain eventually resents.
It illustrates a universe where karma isn't always immediate justice. Sometimes it's just a festering wound.
Exactly. Jigong's 9 acts of mercy directly resulted in this spirit joining an army to destroy his students.
That tension between Buddhist mercy and the ruthless, practical reality of the martial world seems like a central theme of the entire novel.
It absolutely is. The text is warning the reader that spiritual grace does not neutralize mortal danger.
Which perfectly sets up the immediate aftermath of this attack.
Because the owner of the property comes out.
Yeah, Mr. Jin comes running out. He sees the supernatural blood, the scorched floor, the weird hair.
He realizes Lai Ming just saved his entire household from a demonic infiltration.
Right, and he attempts to reward the heroes with 200 taels of silver.
We should really pause to understand the gravity of that reward, because it shifts the narrative back to harsh economic reality.
Exactly. I actually looked into the purchasing power of silver during the Qing dynasty when this text was circulating.
Oh, great. What did you find?
So a single tael of silver was roughly 37 grams. But more importantly, 1 tael could buy you roughly 150 pounds of high-quality rice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so 200 taels could purchase 30,000 pounds of rice.
That is massive.
Mr. Jin isn't handing them a nice little tip for their trouble. He is handing them the modern equivalent of tens of thousands of dollars in bearer bonds.
It's wow. And the sheer volume of that wealth really explains their initial performative hesitation.
Right, because they don't take it right away.
No, the text notes they do this polite societal dance of refusing the money at first.
Because they're heroes.
Exactly. This is a crucial element of heroic posturing. A righteous hero cannot be seen as greedy or mercenary.
Right, they must appear to value justice over currency.
But the old man insists, and eventually the heroes do accept the chest, splitting it 3 ways.
So they each walk away with over 60 taels.
Which is enough money to comfortably retire in a rural village.
So they are completely flush with cash. They survived a demon, they got rich, and they are walking down the road.
You'd think they'd be thrilled.
Right, you would expect high fives and celebration, but instead we get this jarring emotional pivot.
Yang Ming steps in.
Yeah, Yang Ming turns to Lei Ming, holding his massive share of the silver, and just delivers a brutal reality check.
He strips away the illusion of their victory with surgical precision.
He tells Lei Ming he needs to quit the hero business immediately.
His exact reasoning is chilling, really.
He tells Lei Ming, if that demon had a green face and red hair, you would have been eaten on the spot.
So blunt.
Right. He openly states that Lei Ming's knife skills are utterly useless against actual supernatural threats.
Yeah, and that the only reason they are walking away with silver instead of being digested is because Jigong is secretly manipulating events in the background to protect them. I think Yang Ming is demanding situational awareness.
Okay, fair.
He is the voice of mortal pragmatism here. The specific phrasing he uses, a demon with a green face and red hair, that's a well-known literary shorthand in Chinese mythology.
What does it mean, exactly?
It denotes a class of demon that is fundamentally malevolent, predatory, and possessing offensive combat magic, like a yaksha from Buddhist lore.
Ah.
The yellow weasel, despite its age, was a stealth infiltrator. Yang Ming is pointing out that they didn't win a fight. They just survived a very specific lucky encounter.
It's the equivalent of a novice surfer catching a massive wave, getting to the beach, and an older surfer pointing out, You didn't ride the wave just decided not to crush you today.
And by the way, there was a great white shark right beneath your board.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Yang Ming understands that the 60 taels of silver they are carrying is a dangerous positive reinforcement.
Because Laming might get cocky.
Right. If Yang Ming believes his own hype, if he thinks his martial arts can defeat ancient spirits, he will brazenly walk into a situation where a demon simply bites his head off.
So he is reminding Laming that they are mortal pawns operating on a chessboard heavily populated by gods and monsters.
Precisely.
Having just established how incredibly fragile these heroes are in the face of the supernatural, the text executes a brilliant thematic transition.
We go from the cosmic existential dread of a 1,000-year-old spirit straight into the dirt and grime of mundane human desperation.
We move from a threat they cannot possibly overpower to a threat that is entirely beneath them.
It really showcases the vast spectrum of danger in the Jianghu.
And here's where the physical comedy of the text just shines. They are traveling near Changshan County. It's a rural dirt road, overgrown trees, completely isolated.
Right.
Chen Liang, who just hours ago was fending off a demon, tells his buddies to walk on ahead because he needs to step behind a dirt mound to use the bathroom.
The vulnerability of the human body is suddenly put on full display.
Even heroes have to pee.
Yeah. Despite his internal energy and martial prowess, he still has basic biological needs that require him to lower his guard.
So he steps behind the mound, squats down, and is instantly ambushed from behind.
By a giant.
The text describes the attacker as an 8-foot-tall behemoth with a black face, wearing his hair in a messy ox-heart knot, and wielding a heavy steel knife.
It's terrifying.
This giant tries to hack Chen Liang into pieces while Chen Liang is quite literally caught with his pants down.
It is the ultimate test of reflexive martial arts. There's no time to gather ki, there's no time to assume a stance.
And Chen Liang's counterattack is a masterpiece of situational improvisation.
What does he do?
Well, he can't stand up, so he throws his upper body forward onto the dirt, planting his hands, and violently kicks one leg straight backward like a mule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he catches the giant thief squarely, sweeping his legs out from under him. The giant goes crashing to the ground, and before he can recover, Chen Liang scrambles up and pins him down.
It's gritty, it's unglamorous, and it's incredibly effective.
Exactly. It grounds the narrative beautifully. After the mystical fire and vanishing spirits, we get a visceral, tactile struggle in the dirt.
But the physical struggle is merely the preamble to a much more complex psychological and social conflict, really.
Because once Chen Liang has this behemoth pinned, he starts the interrogation. He demands the thief's name and origin.
And the giant is terrified out of his mind.
He stammers out that he is from Danyang County, living in Chen family fort.
Now, this is a critical geographical coincidence.
Because Chen Liang himself is from Danyang County.
Exactly. He knows the area, he knows the local dialects, and he knows the prominent families.
You can almost see the gears turning in Chen Liang's head. He's thinking, okay, this guy is from my hometown. Maybe I show some local solidarity and don't snap his neck.
So he asks the thief for his specific name.
And the thief, realizing he is pinned by a highly skilled fighter, decides he needs to invoke a terrifying reputation to save his own life.
This is where it gets so good.
So the giant thief puffs out his chest and claims his name is Chen Liang, and his nickname in the underworld is the Sacred Hand White Ape.
The profound absurdity of this moment cannot be overstated.
He attempts to steal the identity of a famous local hero to intimidate his captor.
But the captor he is trying to intimidate is the actual Chen Liang.
It's incredible. It's like a scammer calling your cell phone, claiming to be you, and threatening you with your own reputation while you are physically sitting on their chest in a ditch.
Yes. The sheer blinding irony of pitching a stolen identity to the original owner face to face.
And Chen Liang's reaction is swift and entirely justified. He simply slaps the giant across the face.
Perfect.
By this time, Yang Ming and Lei Ming have noticed Chen Liang is missing, so they double back and find this bizarre tableau in the dirt.
And Yang Ming, being the pragmatist, asks the thief for his name again.
And the thief, stubbornly clinging to the lie, repeats to all three of them, I am Chen Liang, the Sacred Hand White Ape.
And Lei Ming's reaction is fantastic.
He doesn't get angry, right?
No, he just bursts into uncontrollable laughter. The tension evaporates into pure comedy.
But beneath the comedy, this exchange reveals a core economic system of the martial world.
It does. In the Jianghu, your name and your nickname are literal currency.
They function as a credit score and a protective aura.
Exactly. The thief, whose real name turns out to be Song Baxian, or Song 8 Immortals, is a low-level operator.
He knows he lacks the physical skill to survive.
So he attempts to borrow the face and reputation of Third Master Chen as a shield.
He assumes the fame of the Sacred Hand White Ape is so widespread that, merely speaking, the name will force these strangers to back down out of respect.
Which proves that reputation travels much faster than physical descriptions in this world.
Right. In an era without photography or mass communication, an intimidating nickname is a martial artist's most valuable asset.
But it also creates a massive vulnerability, as we see here. Anyone can claim your name and commit atrocities, ruining your moral standing in the underworld.
That brings up a decision the heroes make that completely baffled me on my first read.
Letting him go.
Yeah. Song Baxian confesses. He admits he's a fraud. He admits he was trying to murder them for whatever silver they had in their pockets. By the brutal laws of the road they inhabit, they have every right to execute him right there in the dirt.
They absolutely do.
But they don't. Yang Ming actually offers Song Baxian some of their newly acquired silver, suggesting he use it to start a small, legitimate business.
Yeah, here's some startup capital.
And Chen Liang, the guy who was almost murdered, agrees to just let him walk away.
It's surprising.
My immediate thought was, are they feeling titty? Or is this the Buddhist influence of Jigong trickling down, making them overly merciful?
It is a mixture of Buddhist influence and extreme martial hubris, honestly.
The hubris.
Yes. The heroes recognize that Song Baxian is utterly pathetic. He is a bumbling, unskilled brute who relies on stolen valor.
Right.
For high-level practitioners like Yang Ming and Chen Liang, executing a man this far beneath their skill level would actually damage their own karma and their own reputation.
It would look bad for them.
It would be like a professional heavyweight boxer beating a drunken teenager to death in an alley. It's just unseemly.
So offering him the silver is almost a way to wash their hands of him. Like, here's some money, go be a farmer, get out of our world.
It is an attempt at moral correction, yes. They are trying to forcefully steer a desperate criminal back onto the righteous path of common society.
But the text does not allow this noble intention to stand unchallenged, does it?
No, it doesn't. And this is where the overarching structure of serialized vernacular fiction asserts itself so brilliantly.
The narrator pauses the narrative action.
Yes, to deliver a direct, ominous warning to the reader.
The narrator flat out tells us they just made a catastrophic error. The text flashes forward, breaking the chronological timeline to reveal that letting Song Baxian go will eventually cause immense chaos back in Danyang County.
It specifically references a future narrative arc titled Chen Family Fort Twin Heroes Saving Chen Yume.
The narrator reveals that because they spared his life today, Song Baxian will eventually orchestrate a plot that nearly results in the brutal deaths of both Lei Ming and Chen Liang.
This flash-forward technique is essential for building long-term narrative tension. The audience is now burdened with knowledge that characters do not possess.
We watch the heroes act with magnanimity, but we know they have just planted a ticking time bomb.
It perfectly mirrors the earlier lesson with the weasel spirit.
Right. Jigong showed the weasel mercy 9 times, and she responded by joining a demonic army.
And now Chen Liang shows this mortal thief mercy, and he responds by plotting to kill Chen Liang's family.
The overarching thesis of the chapter seems to be that the Jianghu is a closed ecosystem where mercy is violently rejected.
If you don't neutralize a threat permanently, it will inevitably mutate and return to destroy you.
It paints a deeply cynical, realistic portrait of survival. But before Song Baxian runs off to plot his future revenge, his interaction with the heroes exposes an entirely different, heavily guarded layer of this society.
Yes, we transition from the physical violence of the road into the coded linguistic barriers of the criminal underworld.
This was my absolute favorite part of the text because it felt like stepping into a Cold War spy novel.
Oh, totally.
Song Baxian is dusting himself off, preparing to leave with his life intact, and he tries to ascertain exactly who he just failed to rob.
He wants to know who he's dealing with.
He asks the heroes where they are heading. Yang Ming, who is incredibly straightforward, simply tells the truth. He says, "We are going to Ma Family Lake."
And this destination, coupled with the hero's obvious wealth and lethal skill, triggers a fascinating assumption in Song Baxian's mind.
Right. He looks at these 3 heavily armed, terrifyingly competent men heading toward the estate of a very wealthy family, and he assumes they must be apex predators in the criminal ecosystem.
He thinks they are master thieves gearing up for a massive heist.
So to prove he belongs in their club, he suddenly switches dialects entirely. He starts speaking in what the text calls black talk.
This is Chen Dian, the secret jargon of the martial underworld and secret societies.
The text gives us the exact phrases, and to an outsider, it sounds like a series of random nouns thrown into a blender.
It sounds like nonsense.
Song Baxian says to them, "Windward, 10,000, water, much fish, prosperous." Then he follows it up with, "Meet sky-jumping walls and horse elbow situation secret, and finally, urgent pay flowing pull alive."
Quite the mouthful.
It sounds like absolute delirium. If someone walked up to me on the street and said, "Meet sky-jumping walls," I would assume they were having a medical emergency.
But to a denizen of the Jianghu, this is a highly precise technical transmission of data.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, the necessity of a shadow economy having its own legal structure and its own language is universal across cultures, but it was particularly acute in China.
Because of the secret societies.
Exactly. Secret societies like the Heaven and Earth Society were actively operating against the state, so they needed a code.
And the text is kind enough to actually translate the cipher for the reader, which I loved.
What did it say?
So, windward is underworld slang for the surname Ma. Water, much fish, prosperous translates to a location having an abundance of silver and wealth.
Okay, so the first sentence literally means the Ma family has a ton of cash.
Exactly. And the subsequent phrases detail the tactical approach to stealing it.
The jumping walls part.
Right. The rest of the gibberish translates to the physical act of waiting for nightfall, sneaking onto the property, jumping over the compound walls, and exfiltrating the silver quickly and quietly.
Wow.
Song Baxian is basically giving them a sly wink and a nod. He's saying, "Ah, I see. You three heavy hitters are heading to the Moss State tonight to clean out their vaults. Respect. I won't get in your way."
He is attempting to establish professional networking. By speaking the Chendian, he is offering a shibboleth.
A secret handshake.
Yeah, he is signaling that while he may be a lesser criminal, he is still part of the same shadow fraternity as they are.
It reminds me of those old mobster wiretaps from the 1980s.
Oh, like painting houses?
Yes. The FBI would listen to a boss talking about painting houses or doing some carpentry work, and it took them years to realize painting houses meant assassinating someone and splattering their blood on the walls.
That's a great comparison.
Or during the Great Depression, when hobos would carve geometric symbols into fence posts to signal to other drifters whether a farm would offer a hot meal or a shotgun blast.
Right, it's a survival language.
But what I find fascinating is the hero's reaction to being addressed this way. They clearly understand every single word of the slang, but they are deeply, violently offended by it.
Lei Ming's response is immediate. He kicks Song Baxian sharply and barks at him to get lost.
Which is a profound moral statement.
It establishes a crucial boundary. The heroes are in the mud of the Jianghu. They know exactly how the mud works, and they speak the language of the mud, but they fiercely refuse to let the mud define them.
Exactly that.
It is the defining characteristic of the Wuxia righteous hero. They operate outside the jurisdiction of imperial law. They're vigilantes, essentially. But they adhere to a strict internal moral code.
Heavily influenced by Confucian loyalty and Buddhist righteousness, right?
Yes. By refusing to speak the Chendian back to Song Baxian, they're drawing a hard line. They're saying, we share the same geography as you criminals, but we do not share your morality. Do not presume we are brothers.
That distinction is so important. Knowing the criminal code is a tool for survival. Speaking the criminal code is an admission of guilt.
And this interaction perfectly primes the reader for the next transition. We have just seen how the lowest dregs of society use hidden codes to navigate the world.
Now we go to the top.
Yes, the narrative thrusts us directly into the environment of the extreme upper class, only to reveal that the wealthy elite are trapped by social codes that are just as rigid and just as dangerous to navigate as the criminal slang.
The juxtaposition is brilliant. We leave the dirt road and the highway robber behind, and we finally arrive at Ma Family Lake.
The environment shifts completely.
It does, from rural isolation to intimidating wealth and social fortification. When the heroes approach Ma Jun's estate, the first thing they see is a massive plaque hanging over the gate that reads, "Fang Xiaolian honors justice in the village."
That plaque is the elite equivalent of a gang tattoo.
Really?
Yes, it is a public, state-sanctioned declaration of their high social standing, moral uprightness, and political influence.
But despite this outward projection of stability, the situation inside the walls is a powder keg.
Oh, completely.
Ma Jun, the wealthy patriarch, is huddled in his courtyard with a towering 8-foot-tall martial arts master named Jigong.
Who goes by the incredibly intimidating nickname, the Iron Face Heavenly King.
And they are not sitting around sipping tea and discussing poetry. They are actively distributing weapons.
The context for their paranoia is a massive systemic breakdown of law and order in the region.
A prison break has just occurred in the neighboring Changshan County. And this wasn't a few guys tunneling out with spoons.
No, it was a coordinated assault.
The text describes a small army of hundreds of heavily armed bandits storming the imperial prison, slaughtering the government guards, and rescuing a notorious criminal known as Disheveled Ghost Yuan Feng.
The structural integrity of the local government has completely collapsed. Hundreds of violent criminals are now roaming the countryside, high on adrenaline and looking for resources.
Which means Ma Jun's wealthy, isolated estate is the most logical target for a siege.
Right. They have money, they have food, and they're outside the immediate protection of the Imperial Army.
Ma Jun and the Iron-Faced Heavenly King are strapping on armor, preparing for a brutal, bloody defense of their home. The tension is at its absolute peak.
And into this volatile, hyper-militarized environment walks a polite household steward who softly announces that 3 strange men have arrived at the front gate carrying a letter from the monk Jigong.
This is where the calculus of high society absolutely broke my brain.
I know, it seems crazy.
If I am expecting an army of murderers to breach my walls at any second, and someone tells me the mailman is here, I am shouting, throw the letter over the wall and grab a spear.
Naturally.
But Ma Jun doesn't do that. He halts his war preparations to ask his steward a deeply specific, tri-level question about the logistical nature of these messengers.
He demands to know their exact categorization within the courier hierarchy.
Right. He asks the steward, were these men specially sent by Jigong specifically to deliver this letter? Are they simply travelers passing by who agreed to carry the letter incidentally? Or are they professional couriers who were hired with money to bring it?
It is a masterclass in the social geometry of traditional China.
The logic dictates that if they are hired professionals, Ma Jun only needs to provide them with extra tip money.
Right.
If they are incidental travelers, he owes them a polite cup of tea and standard respect. But if they were specially deployed by Jigong himself, the rigid laws of society demand that Ma Jun, the master of the house, must physically leave his compound, walk out the front gates, and personally welcome them into his home.
And when the steward confirms they were specially sent.
Ma Jun and the Iron-Faced Heavenly King literally drop their weapons, start preparing for the bandit siege, and rush outside to perform a greeting ceremony.
I can sense your frustration with this sequence.
I have to push back on it. My initial reaction was that this is absurdly transactional and cold.
How so?
It feels like someone sitting in their living room, checking a food delivery app to see if the driver is an independent contractor or a full-time corporate employee, just so they can run a mathematical formula to determine exactly how many cents they're legally required to tip.
That's a very modern take.
It feels like vanity superseding survival. An army is coming. Why do they care about the exact angle of a bow?
Your modern frustration is entirely valid, but it fundamentally misunderstands the mechanism of mianzi, or face, in traditional Chinese sociology.
Okay, explain that to me.
To a modern Western reader, this looks like vanity. In the Jianghu and in Chinese society at large, mianzi is not vanity. It is a critical survival mechanism.
Yes, survival mechanism.
Yes, it is your social credit rating, your political armor, and the invisible web that holds the chaotic martial world together.
So it's less about etiquette and more about maintaining structural alliances.
Precisely. We have to differentiate between lian, which is moral character, and mianzi, which is social prestige.
Okay.
If Ma Jun under-responds to a special envoy sent by Jigong, treating them like hired help, he doesn't just insert the messengers. He deeply insults Jigong.
Oh, I see.
He signals to the entire martial world that he does not respect the Mad Monk's authority. In a world where government law has failed, remember, the prison was just destroyed. Your network of powerful allies is the only thing keeping you alive.
And what if he over-responds?
Conversely, if he over-responds and grovels to a hired courier, he degrades his own mianzi, making his estate look weak and vulnerable to predators.
The precision is the point. He has to calibrate his respect perfectly to maintain the geopolitical balance of his own life.
Furthermore, contextualizing this etiquette against the backdrop of the prison break makes a profound statement about the hierarchy of power in this universe.
Right.
Ma Jun and the Heavenly King are terrified of the bandit army. They are holding physical weapons to defend against physical violence. Yet, the mere mention of Jigong's name overrides their fear of death.
It forces them to drop their swords and observe protocol.
It illustrates that the soft, spiritual, and karmic power of Jigong is infinitely more commanding than the hard, violent power of 100 bandits.
That reframes the entire scene for me. They drop the swords because offending Jigong is a worse fate than being besieged by criminals.
Exactly.
So the social protocols are observed, Ma Jun rushes out, and the characters are finally brought face to face in the main reception hall.
And this is where the text transitions into this incredibly vibrant visual storytelling before it delivers the final payload of the chapter.
The physical descriptions provided as the characters size each other up are not mere window dressing. They are highly stylized data drops.
They really are.
The imagery is so vivid it jumps off the page. We get exact color palettes and clothing choices for everyone in the room.
Break down the colors for us.
Okay, so Yang Ming is described as having eyes that shine like stars, a firm square mouth, a long black beard, and he is dressed in rich blue satin.
Classic hero look.
Lei Ming, the guy who stabbed the weasel, is described as having an indigo face, a fiery red beard, and looking like a coiled spring of aggressive energy.
Very intense.
Chen Liang, the handsome one, is noted to be dressed from head to toe in pure white mourning clothes.
And their wealthy host, Ma Jun, sits across from them, possessing a yellow face, intense tiger eyes, wearing a heavy jade belt, a pink martial arts hat, and a robe woven with gold threads.
My immediate touchstone for this was modern Japanese anime or manga.
Oh, that's an interesting connection.
Right, because in anime, character design is heavily codified. If a character has spiky red hair, you instantly know they are hot-headed and probably use fire magic.
Yeah, or if they have sleek silver hair and wear glasses, they're the cold, calculating tactician.
Exactly. The color palettes in this chapter, an indigo face with a red beard sitting across from a yellow face and a pink hat, feel like an explosive visual shorthand that tells you everything about their power levels and personalities before they even open their mouths.
That is a phenomenal modern analogy for a very ancient theatrical tradition. You are identifying the literary inheritance of Lian Pu.
Lian Pu.
Yeah, the traditional face painting of Chinese Peking opera. In a time before widespread literacy or in an oral storytelling environment like a tea house, complex psychological exposition was just impossible.
Because people would lose track.
Right. The storyteller needed the audience to instantly understand who to trust and who to fear.
So the colors are a direct translation of their moral and psychological state.
Exactly. Each color carries centuries of ingrained cultural meaning.
So what does Li Ming's indigo face mean?
Lei Ming's indigo face and red beard immediately indicate fierce, volatile, unyielding martial valor, perhaps bordering on demonic ferocity.
Wow.
It aligns him visually with figures like Zhang Fei from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. When the audience hears indigo face, they know this character solves problems with violence.
What about Chen Liang wearing white? Because to a Westerner, white is purity or weddings.
Well, in traditional Chinese culture, white is the color of death, mourning, and ghosts.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah, a young, handsome swordsman wearing stark white mourning clothes suggests the character burdened by a tragic past, driven by sorrow, and incredibly deadly. It gives him an aura of cold, detached elegance.
And Ma Jun's yellow face and gold robes.
Yellow and gold signify terrestrial power, hidden ambition, and imperial wealth. He looks grounded, wealthy, and politically entrenched.
The visual descriptions do the heavy lifting of characterization instantly.
They absolutely do.
So this incredibly colorful cast of characters is seated in the North Room, surrounded by this tense pre-siege atmosphere. Yang Ming politely explains their journey, how they met Jigong at the Lingxiao Temple on Gutian Mountain, and how they were tasked to deliver the specific envelope.
And he hands the letter over.
And the exterior of this letter is just as bizarre and visually coded as the people in the room.
The seal on the envelope is a masterpiece of character design for Jigong himself, even though he isn't even in the room.
Right. There is no wax seal of a family crest. There is no elegant calligraphy signature.
What's on it?
The letter is sealed with a crude drawing of a wine jar that has 7 staples or iron saws, depending on the historical translation driven into it to hold it together.
It's so strange.
This drawing is Jigong's exclusive, verifiable signature. I spend a long time staring at that detail. Why would a highly respected, spiritually powerful monk use a cartoon of a stapled wine jar as his royal seal?
Well, because Jigong is not a traditional monk. He is the archetype of the Jidai, the mad monk.
The mad monk.
Yeah. Historical and literary records depict him as a man who achieved deep enlightenment but chose to flout every single monastic rule.
So he was a rebel.
Completely.
Yeah.
He was famously expelled from his temple because he refused to stop eating meat and drinking massive quantities of wine.
He embraces the vices that monks are supposed to purge.
Yes, but he uses those vices as a disguise. The wine jar is his ultimate symbol. It represents his earthly indulgence, his embrace of the mud and the grime of the human condition.
He's not above it all.
No, he doesn't sit on a pristine mountaintop. He gets drunk in the taverns with thieves and beggars.
And what about the 7 staples holding the jar together? My theory was that it represents his function in the world.
How do you mean?
Like, he takes things that are shattered, broken people, broken systems, people like the highway robber Song Baxian, and he uses unconventional, harsh methods, like driving iron staples into clay, to painfully pull them back together.
That is a profound and highly accurate reading, actually. The staples represent mending the fractured world.
Right.
A traditional wax seal represents bureaucracy, state power, and rigid laws. The very things that have failed to keep Changshan County safe from bandits.
That makes total sense.
A drawing of a broken, stapled wine jar is idiosyncratic, it's deeply personal, and it just vibrates with chaotic healing energy. It is a signature that says, "The law cannot help you, but the mad monk can."
Which brings us to the absolute climax of the chapter, and it is a breathtaking cliffhanger.
It's so good.
Majun, a man dripping in wealth, surrounded by armed guards, standing next to the iron-faced heavenly king, mentally prepared to wage a bloody war against hundreds of hardened criminals, takes this envelope with the drawn wine jar.
He breaks the seal.
He opens the letter and reads the words written by Jigong. And the text says that upon reading it, Ma Jun's yellow face instantly loses all of its color in a spasm of pure, unadulterated terror.
And that is exactly where the chapter ends.